Hey, what's up, everybody? Today we're looking at Stern's Introductory Plant Biology, 14th edition by James E. Bidlack and Shelley H. Jansky. I got this book used in good condition for about $35, which for a textbook is pretty good. This video goes out to Nuance88 for expressing interest in seeing a video about a textbook. I wasn't planning on reviewing a textbook until I read that comment, so thank you to Nuance88. I really feel like this is the kind of book that just about anyone would find a valuable read. The book starts priming the reader by explaining just how much we depend on the plant kingdom. Plants being primary producers, this is where the energy from all of our food or our food's food comes from. We dress in fibers made from plants, and we live in homes, the principal components of which come from the plant kingdom. This is a book that just about anyone can pick up with none to little prior science education. Everything is very clearly explained with visual aids and examples, just what you'd expect from a good textbook. The most difficult concepts discussed in this book are plant metabolism, photosynthesis, and some molecular biology, but that's only a few of the 26 chapters. And if you're wanting to learn what you can about nature and how the world works, you're going to need to get into these things eventually. And as an introductory text, this book is an excellent place to start. In some higher level biology books, the water can get very deep pretty quickly, and this isn't that kind of book. Over the last several decades, the more that we as a collective human body have learned about the different forms of life, it becomes more evident that the best way to categorize living things is by genetic kinship to other living things, aka their evolutionary relationship. And that's the approach used in this book. Alongside that are morphological characteristics. Some of the chapters that stand out are organized by the parts of the plants. A chapter on tissues, a chapter on roots and soil, there's a chapter on leaves, a chapter on seeds, and so on. I find this kind of organization very conducive to keeping an engaged and organized mindset throughout a fairly long book. Well, that's about half of the book, but the rest is organized in other ways. There's more conceptual material like water in plants, or hormones, or movement in plants, or meiosis. There are also chapters on some of the other kingdoms like bacteria, protista, and fungi. This is really important because one of the major themes of highly organized biology is symbiosis between and within the different kingdoms. Finally, we look at the complexification from something very simple like bryophytes to modern gymnosperms and angiosperms, paying special attention to how these plants make their living and how they reproduce, or their life cycles. And then we end with a couple chapters on ecology and the different biomes of Earth. We get into the things like the nitrogen cycle and the carbon cycle and trophic systems in nature, very reminiscent of environmental science textbooks like this one. Most of the chapters in this book have reappearing themes, which help give the book structure and provide the reader with some expectations of how and what kind of information they may encounter. Some of the recurring themes would be how humans are affected by or use whatever the chapter material in question was, or discussion on the evolutionary significance of whatever traits from an adaptation perspective. And it's a textbook, so each chapter begins with an overview and ends with a summary and a review. Something that struck me as really neat as I was reading through the different parts of the plants, the roots, the leaves and the stems, etc., it was so clear how plants evolved so similarly to how it works in the animal kingdom. As an example, we could see how different vegetables that we eat may be from a root, like carrots, or maybe the stem, like in celery, or maybe it's the leaves, as in spinach or something like that. But it just really struck me how it's just like how animals change, but it's based on an inherited body plan. Look at the brassicas. So many different products can be bred by emphasizing a different anatomy of the plant. We can artificially select for bigger leaves or roots or fruits. And across the different phyla, we see homologous traits and convergence in plants just like in the animal kingdom. Just as how a bat's wing is homologous to the bones in the human hand, we can see leaves of one plant evolve to specialize in, say, sugar production, while the leaves of another plant, under totally different selection pressures, evolve to specialize in protection from water loss or whatever. And in retrospect, yeah, of course it would be that way, but I just never really appreciated it very much until I read this. And I mean, we are related to plants after all, though very distantly. We've been going our separate ways for a couple billion years now and still have such an interdependent relationship with them. One last thing I loved about this book, it probably features the coolest appendices that I've seen at the end of a book. Most of it is specifically written for gardeners. There are detailed explanations for different grafting techniques, a special gardening glossary, and the descriptions are a couple paragraphs long. There are tips concerning seed germination, pruning, transplanting, frost protection, watering fertilizers, and pests. There's dietary information on all your favorite vegetables. There's an 8-page appendix showing the levels of humidity, water, light, temperature, and potting medium that different vegetables and flowers prefer. And there's almost 20 pages on useful, edible, or medicinal, or poisonous plants or fungi. Okay, that's it for this one, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. This was one of my favorite textbooks I've read, and I'm really glad I got this. If you plan on getting this book and you want a little extra, you can pick up this companion book, the Laboratory Manual for Stern's Introductory Plant Biology, for about $20. But be warned, mine came missing about 20 pages. Okay, do you guys know of any really good books on plants? I know there are a ton of them out there, and I'd like to get a little more into this field, so any good recommendations would be appreciated. Whether you are a gardener or fascinated by plants, or you just want to learn more about the world around you, definitely check out Stern's Introductory Plant Biology by James Bidlack and Shelley Jansky.